Delivering amazing client results and keeping clients for longer has been the single most important factor in taking my own agency to 75K a month, and that is exactly what I'm going to teach you today. I'm going to teach you how to deliver amazing client results through meta ads to make sure that not a single one of your client ever churns the way I've done in my own agency. But first of all, why should you listen to me? Why am I an authority on meta ads? Well, some numbers. I have managed over $3.5 million in ad spend for our clients. I'm currently managing over 700K a month. I have generated over $20 million in revenue for our clients in my agency. We work on performance, which means that our revenue is based on the revenue that we generate for clients, and we have scaled to 75K a month that way. We have an entire page on our website with client case studies. As you can see here, 200% increase in 7 days. We did a project with Domino's, doubled this brand's sales, 70% more clients for this brand, 252% higher bottom line for this brand. You get the point. I can keep going. We have worked with some of Europe's biggest brands, and I have scaled ads in B2B, B2C, lead gen, e-com, basically every single niche that you can imagine. And today, right now, I am going to teach you how you can do the same thing for your clients in your agency. If you're not able to watch a half-hour-long video without getting distracted, I'm sorry, but there is no chance of you succeeding in business. So close all the other tabs, open this video in full screen, and let's go. This is everything that I have learned about service delivery in my 2 years running agencies. As I said, spending 700K a month right now. This consists of 5 different parts. First of all, the preliminary work, everything you do before you launch any of the ads. This may sound a bit technical, but I promise you this will increase the results that you generate for clients drastically. Then we do the technical setup. Then we go over to the creatives. I will give you a couple different static types, video types, everything you need to know. Then I will explain what you do after the launch, how you optimize, how you scale. And lastly, we will touch in on if you should outsource or do everything yourself. So as I said, let's start with the preliminary work. This is the most fundamental part of this whole service delivery process. You have to understand exactly what the client wants. You have to understand their product. You have to understand their market. And the way we do this is by starting with sending the client a form. I will get into the different questions that this form should include. It's like a questionnaire, but the most important 3 things are the following numbers: their target ROAS or their target CPL, their AOV, and their LTV. So target ROAS or target CPL just depends on which kind of business it is. If it's an e-com brand, then it's target ROAS. If it's a lead gen brand, then it is target CPL. This is the aim of our advertising. It's important that you understand why we have these different metrics. This is the aim. This is the goal of our advertising, that is increasing, that is hitting this target ROAS or this target CPL. Then we need to understand their AOV, average order value, to understand their business. You have to understand what kind of impact you are creating for the business through your advertising. When someone buys through your ad, how much money does the business actually make? And lastly, their LTV, to understand your long-term impact. In e-com, this is usually 15% higher than the AOV. But again, just ask your client, understand what kind of long-term revenue you are driving for your clients through your paid advertising. As I said, we also want to send over a form to the client with a couple of different questions. The goal here is to just get as good of an understanding of the business as possible based on what the client already knows. So ask them to, first of all, just send over their content folder, but then begin asking some technical questions. Number 1, ask them to list out their competitors and who they are, what they are doing well, then their expectations for the advertising, then the interests and the audiences of their purchasers. So let's say that we are working with an e-com brand that sells to pet owners. What kind of interests do their buyers have? In this case, probably pets, taking care of their pets, like family, loving home, stuff like that. Then we have to understand the pain points that we are solving in our ads, the unique selling points, their winning products. It's very, very important that you get a list of their winning products to know what to focus on in your ads. And lastly, just ask what works and what doesn't. Don't use this as an end all be all type thing. They will probably be wrong, but you want to understand what they have found to work and what they have found to not work. I have made a template for a form exactly like this one. I will put together a care package with all of the links that I am going to mention in this video. So if you want access to that, just reach out to me on Instagram. I'll send that over. But point is, tally looks something like this. Feel free to copy it. Just make sure to personalize it to the actual service that you are delivering to your clients. You start by just asking some basic questions. Then you go into the next steps, which are the competitors, the expectations. Point is, you get the whole form, just copy it, personalize it to your business. And lastly, once you have collected all of this information, you want to do your own research. Because again, everything that we have collected here is based on the client's words, and you can't always trust that. We want to do our own research, and there exists two types of research. You have external research and you have internal research. So external research is a competitor and market analysis where you try to understand everything that goes on outside of the client's business. Who are the competitors? What are they doing? What is the market like? Who is winning? Who is not? What kind of ads are being ran? Again, I have a template for this kind of research. It looks something like this. You just fill out these fields. And if you are doing Google Ads as well, I have included a Google Ads competitor ranking sheet. Then we do an internal research, which is an offer or product analysis, where we try to understand your client's product as deeply as possible. What kind of pain points does it solve? What kind of unique selling points does it have? And again, I have a template, something like this. You fill out their features, benefit, USPs, stats, angles, all this stuff, and then you answer 4 very important questions. This is Alex Hormozi's value equation. What is the main dream outcome that the product offers? What is the perceived likelihood of achievement, their time delay, and the effort and sacrifice required to use your client's product? Again, this may sound like it's a lot of work, and yes, in the beginning it will take some time, but once you get a hang of it, it will be pretty quick, and it will help you out immensely when you are actually setting up the ads in the next couple of steps. So do this preliminary work for every single client in your agency. Once that is done, we can go over to the technical setup. First and foremost, always we start with conversion tracking. So conversion tracking is just reporting back to the ad platform, in this case Meta, which clicks actually led to a conversion that it can optimize based on that data. So if you get, let's say 100 clicks, 4 of them convert, you report that back to Meta, and then Meta begins looking for more people who look like the 4 people who have already converted, which basically just makes the ads convert better and better for every single day. So this is set up through GTM and the Meta Pixel API. GTM stands for Google Tag Manager. It may sound a bit complex, but it is a pretty simple process. I'm not going to go through it in this video because I'm not a Meta Pixel API expert. I have attached this guy's video. It takes like 4 minutes to watch. So just go through it, set it up. It's nothing difficult. With time, look at hiring an actual tracking expert to not spend your time doing this technical stuff. But in the beginning, you should do it at least a couple times to understand how it works. Once that is done, we have to set up the account structure. Let's start with some basics, how the Meta Ads Manager is even structured. We have 3 layers within the ad account. You have the campaign. Within the campaign, you have ad sets, and within each ad set, you have different ads. So a campaign is just like a folder with a name. You don't really put many settings into the actual campaign level. It just is a folder to group different ad sets. It is on the ad set level that a lot of the magic happens. On the ad set level, you determine the audience that your ads will be shown to. You determine the placements where your ads will be shown. So for example, in the feed, in stories, in the sidebar, and you decide the budget and the schedule. So a lot of the technical aspects will be configured in the ad set, and then they apply to all of the ads within that ad set. And the actual ad is just the format, the creative, the media, just basically the image and the ad copy that you will be showing to the audience that you determined in the ad set level. So this is very fundamental, important for you to understand how the actual Meta Ads Manager is structured, and this is the account structure that I want you to use. So we will be running 3 different campaigns with a couple of different ad sets with a couple of different ads each. So let me start from the top. We want 3 campaigns. The first one is a testing campaign, and then we want 2 scaling campaigns. One is a CBO and one is an ABO. An ABO is basically just where you determine the budget on the ad set level, while a CBO is where you determine the budget on the campaign level. So in the testing campaign, you would give this ad group, let's say $10 a day, and you would give this ad group $10 a day. And then Meta will itself distribute the budget to the ads under those ad sets, but you can't tell Meta to spend a specific amount of money on a specific ad. You can only tell it to spend money on a specific ad set. While in a CBO, you give the actual campaign a budget. So you go one step up and you give this campaign, let's say $30 a day, and then Meta will itself begin distributing the budget to the different ad sets, and then within that to the different ads. So you give Meta a lot more control through a CBO. They have different purposes. You can't be testing with a CBO because you want to force Meta to spend a certain amount of money on the different ad sets. So if you are running an A/B test, you want to test ad group 1 versus ad group 2. You want to give ad group 1 $10 a day, and you want to give ad group 2 $10 a day. You want them to spend an equal amount of money to see which one performs better. You can't just give it to the campaign and then hope that it chooses the correct one. Within each ad group in the testing campaign, we have an ad alpha and an ad beta. This is where A/B testing comes from, because one ad is the alpha, the other one is the beta, basically just one versus the other one. They should have some differences, but remember that the audience is selected on the ad set level, as you can see here. So these ads will be shown to the same audience. So they should be aimed at the same audience, but you can use a different hook or a different image or just a small tweak on the existing image. Point is, you just test two ads against each other, but the audience that they go to will be the same. Campaign settings, this is how we actually go about creating the campaigns in the ads manager. We start by clicking the big green create button. If you are running ads for an e-com brand, you click sales. If you are running ads for a lead gen brand, you click leads. Then always select the manual leads campaign option. You don't want Facebook to be messing with the settings that you are setting up. And then let's do the rest through the actual ads manager. So let's say we are running ads for an e-com brand. We click sales, click continue, again, click manual, click continue. And we have now created a campaign. As you can see here, on the top, we have a campaign. Under that, we have an ad set, and under that, we have an ad. So there are two ways to navigate through the ads manager. You can either go out here in this view, you click in on the campaign, then you see the ad set, you click in on the ad set, then you see the ad, or you can click edit and you will see it in this tree type formation on the left. So if we, for example, duplicate this ad set, just click quick duplicate. As you can see now, we have two ad sets under this one campaign. So let me just delete that real quick. Let's start by naming the campaign. Let's say that we are running a CBO. Let's do an ABO. Let's just set up the testing campaign. ABO testing. And let's say again, we are running a pet products. Something simple like this. Nothing else really need to be changing here. Then we click next. Under here, we will be setting up the technical aspects of this campaign. So this one will be targeted at, let's say, women 40 to 50 in Nebraska, for example, on mobile devices. As an example, you want to have as much information as possible in the title. That way you don't have to go into the ad set to understand what kind of targeting you are running on that ad set. You want to be able to determine that based on the naming that you give to that ad set. Then we click website, because of course we want to be driving clicks and sales to a website. Maximize number of conversions. Data set, here you select the pixel that you set up previously. Again, remember the first step of the technical setup is to set up a pixel and set up the tracking. Cost per result, leave that blank. Attribution settings, click through 7 days, engaged view 1 day, view through 1 day. Perfect. Keep it as it is. Here, as I said, we will be selecting the budget because we are running an ABO where we determine the budget on the ad set level, not the campaign level. If you want to be running a CBO, then we have to click on Advantage Campaign Budget. Again, then we will give the budget to the campaign, not the ad set. Let's say we want to be running $20 a day for this one. Start date, just leave that empty. End date, leave that empty. Audience controls. Now, this is the interesting part. Since we want to be targeting Nebraska, we just type in Nebraska here. We will be targeting the entire state. Let's remove United Arab Emirates. Boom, as you can see here, now we are only targeting the state of Nebraska. Always uncheck this little box, because if you leave it checked, you give Facebook the freedom to go outside of your targeting. So maybe we have target Nebraska, but it finds that a person in New York is likely to convert. It will then show the ad to the person in New York. But if we are setting up this type of targeting, we have a reason behind why we want to be targeting a single state. So we don't want Meta to be going outside of our preset targeting. So make sure to, as I said, uncheck that. Then under the audience, I recommend that you always start with an Advantage Plus audience. This gives Facebook complete freedom in determining who in this specific state it will be targeting. And the reason why we are doing it is because the AI that Meta is using has become very, very smart, and it is able to determine who the customer is without you having to give inputs. And the cool thing is that sometimes it finds new audiences that you didn't even think of as a purchaser, and that way you create a much bigger market because you don't have to be limiting it to your own understanding of the market. You can allow Facebook to find those people itself. So leave it at broad if you don't have any very specific reasons for limiting it. Let's say you are working in finance and you don't really want people who are under 40 to be converting for some reason, then you can limit it to the age, but don't go any deeper than that. Placements, again, also Advantage Plus placements. If you have any very specific reasons for why you have to be running, let's say reels or only stories, then you can click manual placements and change that up. But as standard, just run it as Advantage Plus. Let's keep it as simple as possible. Lastly, the actual ad, again, give it a descriptive name. This is going to be an us versus them ad, targeted at women. I will get into the different ad types and the different angles and concepts later on once we get to the creative section, but just give it a descriptive name and then we will get to the rest of the stuff later. So we are ready to be uploading the creatives. Next step here is to just for you to understand the difference between prospecting and retargeting. So every single client journey looks like a funnel. You have a top of the funnel, you have a middle of the funnel, and you have a bottom of the funnel. The top of the funnel is everyone who has ever seen your ads or heard anything about your business. Those are people who just know who you are. They don't really like you. They don't really trust you. They're not really planning on buying, just the biggest audience possible for your brand. Then in the middle of the funnel, you have people who are beginning to kind of warm up. They're consuming your content. They're beginning to kind of consider buying your product. And the bottom of the funnel are people who are already scorching hot or ready to buy your thing. You just need to show them an ad for them to actually go onto the website and convert on whatever it is that you are selling. So you have to understand this funnel structure, and that it becomes more narrow the farther down into it you go. And we want to be determining ourselves which part of this funnel we are targeting with our ads. So you can be targeting the top of the funnel or the bottom of the funnel. The middle of the funnel will kind of be done on its own through your organic content and just through your top of funnel and bottom of funnel content. So you don't really want to be running ads specifically for the middle of the funnel, but the top of the funnel is called prospecting, while the bottom of the funnel is called retargeting or remarketing in advertising terms. So prospecting is just when you are trying to reach the biggest possible audience. You just try to get as many people as possible in on your website. You make different ads specifically for that purpose, just get people interested. Most of them are not likely to convert on the first click, and that is where retargeting comes in, where we keep showing ads to that person who has interacted with our website. They are already much warmer because they have clicked in on the website, so they are not a complete stranger to the business. And you want to, as I said, keep spamming them with ads until they actually end up purchasing. So 80% of our budget will go to prospecting, to building an audience, to hitting as many people as possible. And then 20% of our budget will go to the actual retargeting or remarketing part. You also have these terms cold, warm, hot. Cold is basically just prospecting. Hot is when they are at the retargeting stage. It's just different words to describe the different parts of the customer funnel. On the prospecting that we will be spending 80% of our money on, we will be running a broad or interest-based targeting. As I just said, we will leave the actual targeting empty. We will use Advantage Plus audience. Just go broad, try to find as many as possible. Then on the 20%, we will be actually hitting people based on interaction. So the interaction could be them visiting our website, or them adding to cart, or them visiting our Instagram page. Just different interactions that show that they have some kind of knowledge about our business. And as I said, then we can begin remarketing to those people. That's it for the technical aspect. It may sound very complicated, but just don't overthink it. Just realize that there is the split between top of funnel and bottom of funnel, and then you have different types of campaigns to run towards those audiences. Now we have already set up a campaign on Meta. The next part is to actually set up the ads that we'll be running within those campaigns. We have a couple of different types of ads. You have a static, which is just an image, and then you have videos, which is a video, and lastly ad copy, which is present on all types of creative. So both when you are running an image and a video ad, you can always add ad copy. Let's start by breaking down what an ad actually looks like on Meta. So it consists of three parts. You have the actual ad copy, which appears on the top. Then you have the creative, which is the image or the video that appears in the middle. And it's the biggest part of this ad, and it's the most important part of this ad. The creative will always determine the success of your ad. I will get to why ad copy isn't that important later on. And then lastly, you have the CTA and the headline. So you have a headline, start accepting online payments, and then the CTA is learn more. It's a button, people can click it and go to your actual website. So for the static, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 types of statics that we run at my agency. We have tried hundreds of different layouts and types, and these 7 are the best. So don't really venture outside of those, just keep to these 7. We call them concepts. They are us versus them, which is basically you just showing this is how it was, this is how we are solving this problem. Then you have a before and after, just simple like this. Works really well for lead gen, for example, remodeling, kitchen remodeling, bathroom remodeling, stuff like that. Then you have a listicle, which is just we are best because of reason 1, reason 2, reason 3. USPs, where you basically explain why your product is the best with these kinds of unique selling points: skiing and snowboarding, mountain climbing, with arrows pointing to the product. Then you have a testimonial, like you see here, Rebecca saying I'm sleeping better and focusing better than before taking NMN. Then we have 3 reasons why this is one of the best performing ads in our ad accounts. You just give 3 reasons for why the person should buy your product. It could be, for example, formatted as this It could, for example, be formatted as this Apple Notes thing to make people feel like they have seen this somewhere else, or it could just be a simple list. There are different ways to actually format it, but these are just concepts for how to actually structure the ad. And lastly, you have the problem and the solution ad. On the left, you have the problem. On the right, you have the solution. So go ahead, pick 2 to 3 of those, make ads for those. Those will be the ads that we will be A/B testing against each other within our testing campaigns. For videos, there are really only 3 types of videos that you should be running. Those are unboxing videos, viral meme hook videos, and UGC review videos. So an unboxing is just someone filming themselves, opening up the package and trying the product. Oh, this is so amazing. My skin feels so great, whatever. A viral meme hook, you've probably seen these videos online on TikTok or in Instagram Reels, whatever. For example, this guy being taken down by a bull, and then you have a salesman in a car dealership just like lunging themselves forward, kind of like transitioning to their ad, and then they begin explaining, we have this new Hyundai for sale, whatever. You get the point. That is performing very well right now. And then also UGC review, where basically just a person walks with their camera talking about some kind of service. I tried the service, these are the results, this is what I was struggling with. So these are, as I said, the 3 types of videos that exist when you are planning on running meta ads. Start with statics because videos are expensive and time consuming. Yes, they have a high impact, but if you are taking an account over from scratch or an account with not too much ad spend, you don't really need to be venturing into videos just yet. Statics are so much easier to produce. Use Figma to design them. In the beginning, again, do it yourself, understand it, and then with time you can hire a graphic designer. But later on, when you have clients spending at least 15, 20, 30K a month on ads, you can begin looking at implementing videos. So what you can do to actually make those videos, start by just cutting up existing material using CapCut. So the business probably already has some kind of videos of them unboxing from like their store, stuff like that. Just use their existing videos, just cut them up, try to make something out of it. Of course, that is not the most ideal way to go about making videos, but it is much cheaper because you don't have to get someone to film something from scratch. If you want to be making these kinds of videos with a viral meme hook or a UGC review, you need to actually talk with creators and get people to record this stuff. So what you do is that you source creators and you send them briefs where you say exactly what they need to be saying in this video. And you need to have a storyboard and you need to have a script. So scene 1 is you walking outside, talking to the camera, saying X, Y, and Z. You get the point. You send them a complete brief explaining exactly what they have to be saying in the video. And you can also use AI generated videos. For this, at my agency, we use Creatify and 11 Labs. So check that out. But again, don't really bother with videos just yet. Stick to statics because they work amazing. You only need videos when your static ads begin fatiguing because of too much spend. Lastly, the actual ad copy, the text in the ad. There are, again, a couple of different types of ad copies that you could be running. You have a testimonial like this one. The air just feels cleaner and my allergies stay in control with this purifier by Lori. Amazing. Just get some social proof in there. You can also use a descriptive ad copy like this one, a warm and woody men's fragrance inspired by an orange bourbon sour. Get the point, make people feel something through your ad copy. And lastly, the IDA model. If you don't know what this model is, look it up. It's a very simple way to appeal and advertise. You should do some research on that if you haven't already, but it looks something like this, a bit more advanced. The most important thing here is to understand that the ad copy is the least important aspect of this whole creative process. I'm not saying that it's not important, but it's just the least important. So you should be spending, I don't know, 80, 90% of your time on the actual static or the video, and then you can spend the last 10% on the ad copy. You can have an amazing static and shit copy and your ad will perform, but if you have amazing copy and a shit static, it will not perform. So as I said, just focus on making the actual image or the video as appealing as possible. So how do we add this in the actual ads manager? Let's say that we chose the us versus them ad. If we go into our overview here, we can see that us versus them looks something like this. Let's say that we made an ad, we want to be uploading it. So what we do is that we go into the ads manager, we click create ad. It should already be selected by default. Manual upload, single image or video. Again, disable multi-advertiser ads. It will just give you shittier quality clicks. So we don't want to be running that. Website URL, let's say that this is petcare.com. Let's say that this is your client, petcare.com. You send to the specific product page that you are advertising for. So if you are advertising for a specific product, let's say that it is a brush for dogs, and then you have a us versus them ad, you send to the actual product page. So petcare.com/dog brush, whatever the URL is. Display link, if your website URL is a bit ugly, sometimes some websites use kind of weird formatting where they have like tons of numbers and random letters, you can build your own display link. So you can say that petcare/just dog, for example. And instead of showing this link, it's going to show this display link over the headline. In terms of browser add-ons, click none, don't select anything here. Add creative, set up the creative, click image ad. Here we upload the actual creative that we have created. So skip and continue this first step. Don't worry about that. Here we write our primary text. So going back to our Miro, that's what we covered in the last step here, either a testimonial, a descriptive ad, or an IDA model ad. Click the primary text. Fill that in, headline, fill it in, description, you can leave that empty. It never shows on the actual feed, so just don't put anything in the description. I'll just type something out. Next, we go to the actual media. So click upload, select the file from your computer and upload that. And that is it really. It's a super simple process. You just click next, next, next until it is done, and you will have the actual ad display here the way it will show in feeds and in reels. You can click through the different placements to see what it looks like on the different types of platforms. You have, for example, ads on Facebook Reels, you have Instagram Explorer. You can just click through and see what it will look like. Make sure to check that it's not being cropped in any weird ways. And lastly is the call to action. Always customize this call to action to what you are actually trying to get the person to do. So if you are running ads for an e-com brand, select shop now. If you are running ads for a lead gen business that want to give people quotes, click get quote. Just as I said, customize it to whatever you are trying to get the person to do. That's it. That's the way you set up an ad in the Facebook Ads Manager. Once everything is done, you should have at least 2 to 3 ads in here. So you should run like an us versus them. Then you can run a, let's say, USB ad and then a testimonial ad, all of these 3 under the same ad set. That will run as a test. So as we did earlier, we have already given this ad set a budget of $20 a day. Facebook will itself distribute this budget among the 3 ads that we set up, and then whichever one gets the most spent and whichever one generates the best results is the winner that we will move over to our winner campaigns. from the structure that I covered earlier. So we test, as I said, in the testing campaign, test ad 1 versus 2. The winner goes into the scaling campaigns. Nice. So we have covered what you do before you actually begin doing any work, then how to set up the technical aspect, how to make the creatives. Now, what do we do after we have launched the ads? Well, there are only 2 steps. That is optimization and that is scaling. You want to be checking the ads daily. So what kind of numbers should you be looking at? Well, it's very simple. Look at the last 7 days, look at the last 14 days, and look at the last 30 days. You do that up in the right corner. So if you go into campaigns here, just deselect everything, then click here on the date icon. You can then click last 7 days, look at what kind of numbers you are looking at, amount spent, what kind of cost per action, cost per conversion you have, then look at the last 14 days and last 30 days. The point with this procedure is to spot trends. So if you see that your cost per acquisition is rising in the last 7 days and is rising in the last 14 days compared to the last 30 days, then you know that you are on a downward trend, and you can begin analyzing the ads, which ads are not performing. For what reason? Is the CPC up? Is the CPM up? Look at all the other soft metrics. But point is, it just allows you to spot trends in their infancy if you do this every single day. Then just look at the numbers, don't do any changes, and optimize weekly. So every single Monday, make a list of the planned changes for that week based on the data and based on the trends that you have spotted throughout the week. You will have a pretty good understanding of what needs to be changed. Maybe one ad isn't performing, so then you need to replace that ad, or maybe you see that an A/B test is nearing its end. You have to transition the winning ad to the scaling campaign. You can make that a change for that week. Point is, just make a list of all the changes you want to be making that week, and then throughout the week, every single day, go in and begin chipping out at this to-do list, so that ideally within 7 days you have done everything, and next Monday you are ready to make a new list and keep optimizing. If you want to be doing budget changes, make sure to only move the budget by 19% maximum at a time, up to 3 times a week, because Facebook has this thing called a learning phase. So when you launch a new ad or do some big changes, it will reset the learning phase and it will begin looking at new audiences, looking at new placements, because you did a big change which kind of throws off the algorithm. So the way to avoid that is to just do, as at 19% max budget changes. So if you are running a campaign at $100 per day, you can maximum drop it to $81 or maximum increase it to $119. No more 3 times a week. In this optimization, it's important to turn off ads if they are losers. You want to be cutting your losses as quickly as possible, and the way you determine if an ad is if it has spent 3x the desired CPA with no conversion. So CPA is cost per acquisition. Let's say you want to be getting your client acquisitions for $10 and this ad has spent $30 and it hasn't gotten a single conversion or a single purchase, then that's a loser. You turn it off and then you launch a new test. In terms of scaling and getting the client more and more revenue every single week, every single month, that is done through 2 methods. That is budget and that is content. So budget, as I said, increase budgets by 19% max 3 times a week. So if you have an ad that is a winner and that keeps performing, you can begin upping its budget. So going back to this whole account structure, you have tested in the ABO, you have moved over the ads to the CBO. And if you see that the ads are performing, just keep upping the budget of the ad set until it begins going down. This is approximately what the ROAS to spend ratio will look like. In the beginning, you will have the highest ROAS or the highest return because the algorithm is hitting the most relevant people, and then once you begin scaling the spend, you will be hitting more and more irrelevant people, which will make the ROAS go down. So expect the ROAS to go down, but if it begins tanking completely, then scale back the ad spend, and that is the max for that specific ad. The other way you can scale is through content. So you can make iterations and you can dupe scale your account. Iterations is where you just take a winning ad, you take a winning concept and you take a winning angle and you make an iteration of that. So let's say we tried this us versus them ad that performed well, and it's beginning to fatigue, which is when ROAS begins dropping because of spend. So what you do is that you just take this ad and you kind of like change up, for example, the USPs that you are presenting here, or you change up the headline, You just make an iteration of the existing winning ad, just changing a couple of small elements to see if that will revive the ad, and then you launch it again. The other way to scale your account is through dupe scaling. So dupe scaling is where you just copy an existing ad set, you give it its own budget, and then you just launch the exact same thing. Again, it may sound a bit counterintuitive, but the way the algorithm works is that it finds small pockets in your audience. So let's say you are targeting a women aged 40 to 45 in Nebraska. Within that targeting, it will find smaller pockets, for example, people living in downtown. I don't know which cities are in Nebraska, but you get the point, like specific parts of the city, and it will only target those people because it has found that those people convert the best. So the way you can reset that and force it to find a new pocket is through a dupe scale, where you just duplicate, as I said, the ad set, give it another budget, so usually either 50% more or 50% less than the winning ad set, and run that and see if that finds a new pocket and begins converting well again. I hope this video was valuable. A lot of technical aspects. As I said, if you want access to this Miro board and all of the other links and resources that I mentioned throughout the video, reach out to me on Instagram. I'll send over a care package. Other than that, have an amazing week, and I'll see you at the top.